Back in 1965, I worked as a film editor at NBC News, and I may have spoken about this. I was an assistant film editor, and my very first day there, the guys on a motorcycle rushing the film from the airport to the studio to get put on the air. Uh, we were trying to cut it as fast as possible, and it was some kind of a revolutionary moment, I think, in Central or South America. And there was an uprising of some kind, but there was one shot of a young boy on a bike with a red flag that may or may not have been a communist flag. But the producer said, open with that shot. And I went, oh, somebody makes these choices. We were being manipulated. Nothing else in the footage said communist uprising, but the producer determined that's what it was. And the entire American public, this was Huntley Brinkley, the entire American public was fed this producer's vision of the world. Hundreds of millions of people. And I understood how manipulated we are by, you can call it the news, but it was really a producer, one person made that choice. And the little I knew of this person, he was not the most erudite, most brilliant person. He was just good at throwing things together and finding a way to make us as an audience sit up and pay attention because that was his job. I don't know how many of you watch the TV show Succession. Late in the game, since it's ending tonight, it's actually quite remarkably good television. But it talks about exactly what I'm saying, which is the manipulation of news and of people's minds and the general public. And people with great power do this primarily to make money. And their goal is, to become, if you will, influencers, in today's terminology, of the whole world. But they're just people. And if you watch the show Succession, they are very imperfect people. If you worked at Huntley Brinkley, it was the same thing. They had inordinate power to affect how we think, how we feel, how we move through every day of our lives. As I said, Succession is ending tonight, and a cartoon in the New Yorker today or the other day said, Succession is about to end, repent. And I found that really kind of interesting. The world is about to end, repent. And it is really interesting that it's coming to an end. And all things do come to an end. And they will leave an imprint. And that imprint will be, well, for those of you who watch Succession, it'll be interesting to see if it has depth, if it has power, if it has clarification, if it has Shakespearean resonance, or if it just is, the end of another show. And our lives are not dissimilar to that. Our lives are, do they have Shakespearean quality? Do they just have sort of just shows that are on the air that get canceled? What are our lives? How much do we direct the power of the creative illumination, if you will, of our being? What's our relationship to that? And it's a really interesting story because, as a artist, filmmaker, a writer, I try to create stories that have value, that explain, that help you see your own life in a certain particular way and have a kind of value. Some stories are just to keep you distracted as much as possible from everything, to keep you engaged in all the drama of engagement. Are they going to win? Are they not going to win? Are the good guys going to get it? Are the bad guys going to get it? Who's going to die? All those things that happen in all of these sort of film experiences that we have, and even literary experiences that we have. Some go deep, some penetrate, some inform, some just distract. But it all manipulates. And we are highly manipulated by the people who control the world, and also by the people around us in our lives. Even though they don't know they're manipulating us, mostly they're good at it. They know the right thing to say, the wrong thing to say, the way to get to us, the way to upset us. So we're very affected by the imprint of the world and everything that is happening, and tend to be very reactive to all of that. And the trick is, through meditation, in a way, how to stop being that person. Stop being controlled by media. Stop being controlled by other people, by the world, by the things we're being told. How do we find a way to kind of step back from all of that? That's a real part of the freeing of the mind, freeing of the soul from its addictions to what's outside. And we are culpable in all of that. I mean, if you turn on your computer in the morning or pick up your newspaper, what do you read? Do you go to the big stories that the news is trying to get you to read as the first story of the day, the default? Do you go right to that? Probably. I mean, some of you are maybe don't even know what I'm talking about. Some of you are right there. You're right on top of whatever is exploding in the news part of our lives, and it's really potent. And if you do go there, you're part of the problem. Your addiction to that is part of the problem. And how can you deal with that? Well, first of all, a line I read the other day, and I don't know who to quote. I don't remember where it came from, but it was that we are all bigger sinners than we ever imagined, and that we are all more loved than we could ever expect. We are human beings. We are part of the cycle. We're part of the process. We are brought into the mix of life and all the dramas that go on in life every day. We are really caught by that stuff. And if we have a capacity at all to step back an inch, a foot, 10 feet, we can begin to arrange how we react to the world and how we live our lives in terms of the comfort zones that we can set up inside ourselves. From everything I am reading and watching, the world isn't doing very well with all that right now. There's a lot of collective tension and drama and fear and all of that stuff that's happening everywhere because, well, news media is unbelievably controlling. Succession, the show of Succession, helps it actually gets a president elected, and a president that the country doesn't want particularly, but they pull it off because they have the power to get it, because it will serve them as a producing organization that will make more money. So there are all of these huge dynamic forces at play that are personal, individualized, and global. We have an amazing capacity to go, nope, nope, step back. You may have to step back over and over and over and over and over, but you have a capacity for that. You can disconnect from all of that, even though it's going to reach back, as tentacles are powerful, and pull you back into worldly events, into the experience of fear and impermanence and all of that the world represents. But you can pull back with a breath and asking for help. Help me, please, to surrender. Please, I've added the word please, but it's a good word. Help me to surrender. And hold your breath and focus your attention on your heart chakra. Get past your brain and your mind and your ego self in your throat, and just be in your heart and just ask for help, because when the world is as demanding and as active as it is and in your face as it is, you're either its victim or you are using all of that to find your freedom and release from its power. And it's completely up to you. And if you fail 500 times a day, try to win a few of those times. Try to find this moment where you go and you actually feel lighter than air. You actually feel comforted, in good hands, knowing that the world is what it is, has always been thus, to be honest. I mean, from the beginning of time, the world is a kind of threatening space in many ways, and also a place of unbearable beauty and joy and love. And it's all intermixed in this yin yang fashion, and we're all part of it. But you're either in the dynamic of being able to open to, relax, and let go of its power and find your own inner power. It doesn't have to be presented as strength. It's really a gentle, very simple, very quiet force that just goes like that. And it allows you to get through whatever life is bringing you. And right now, with social media and news and everything else, and pandemics, God knows what the world is bringing us right now, you have to do the work. You have to take the time and get in there and find that space where you can go that is supported by something greater, something that is not going to fall away at the end of existence. Now, it's for many people an act of faith. If you go deep enough, it's not faith, it's knowing. You simply know that you are connected to something which is infinite and eternal. I can't tell you how you know that, but you do. You just feel it is there forever, and it will be there no matter what. The last line of my film Ghost is, "The love inside, you take it with you." I believe that with every part of my being, that if you can manifest this openness in yourself, it will feel like a field of love. It's so big, it's so expansive, it goes as far as the eye can see, and it is who you are. It is bigger than the news, it's bigger than the manipulation of the world around you, it's bigger than succession, it's bigger than everything in the world. It is this foundational reality that you can, in the beginning, try to hope for and believe in and have faith in. But the reality of meditation and deep diving in yourself is you come to a place of knowing. Knowing is a good thing. It will be challenged. Trust me, it will be challenged, because just because you know it today doesn't know you won't have to go back to knowing again. The world exerts its pull. It does. It always has. It always will. But don't give in. Recognize it for what it is. When I saw that guy say, "Put the red flag first," it was like, oh, I get it. I see how it works. If you watch Succession, you see these awful people dictating your life. And you go, oh, I see how it works. It's not just theater, it's not just television, it's real. We are constantly being manipulated by the world, and are very greedy in many ways to be manipulated, because it's very exciting and dynamic to have that working in your life. It's just very dynamic. So all I can say is, if you are part of that element that is caught by the world, if you are experiencing that, don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get into a place where you become the victim of your own engagement in all of that stuff. Take a breath. Turn it around. Those of you who've been practicing for half a century, this will be easier. Those of you who are dabbling in this or do it occasionally, it will be harder. Those of you who are listening to this and saying, well, I should do that, it'll be very hard. But here's an interesting story that may make you feel better. about it all. And that is maybe Blanche and I went to a party that's given every year last night. Um, and I think we've been going for 20 years since we lived in Rhinebeck, and same group of people all the time, 20 years later, a little over. And everybody's getting old. And almost everybody there is pushing 80, if not 80. Some are almost 90. And it's fascinating every time we go, walking up this big hill, which fewer and fewer of those people are able to get up to get to the house because we have to park down at the bottom. You walk up carrying all your food that you're going to deliver for everybody. And it is a challenge at a certain point. You go inside and you see everybody, and you can only remember 2/3 of the names of the people there. You've known them for 20 years, cannot remember their names. It starts to come back, luckily, mostly it does. Some are open enough to saying, I can't remember your name, which is stunning to have people you know not remember your name, but they don't. There were people who were almost unrecognizable because of their aging, because they had become double the size, half the size, shrunk in many different ways. And they all had kind of what I would call sweethearts. And I noticed in the conversations, one, they're the same conversation for 20 years. Really interesting. The same conversation again and again and again and again, but it's still sweet and it's knowable. These people are knowable. But what I noticed happening is that there were a group of them who were in the forgetting mode and who never practiced meditation, don't even kind of know what that would be, who were finding a place of no longer being impacted by the outer forces. They probably don't watch the news, and if they do, it's like just watching commercials. It doesn't impact. They were in a place of letting go of the mind, or the mind was letting go of them, but they were no longer reactive in the same way to the things that were going on that a year ago or 2 years ago would have had impacted them in a big way. And I started to see some of the gentility of life, that it allows you to forget things. It allows you to let them go away, even if you never meditated for a second. There is a kindness at the core of the human journey that is shockingly beautiful. And there was something coming out of these people that was constant, it was loving, it was embracing, even if they looked different and even if they didn't remember you. It didn't matter because there was something connecting all of us that had to do with our humanity. The aging process had freed us from the stories because none of us had many stories left to tell. Everybody was retired, everybody was, moved on in the world. Some people were really brilliant with their memories. Some people had nothing. But it was fascinating to watch how it worked. There were still people very caught up in what I would call the existential reality of their lives, still doing and doing and doing in a kind of a way of addicted, a way of acting in life because they were so afraid of letting go. And they were very instructive to me because I could see the people around them were already free of that. I knew they would go through that process, some gently, some not gently. But I got a picture of that group, and then I got a picture of all of us. And all I can tell you, existentially, if you will, we're heading in the same direction. Life can be very kind. It can actually take away your narrative and your story, your projection, what to do next, what not to do. It just releases you from that into what Eckhart Tolle called, the now, or many people have called it that, many Ram Dass, etc. The now is where a lot of these people were living. They were just there. They came to this party to be in the now with other people. They're going to go home in the car and they won't remember half of what happened, but there'll be a now to that journey home, to the journey to getting home, to walking in the house, to getting clean and ready for bed, and all of that. There is a now to all of that, which is very potent. And to personalize this a little bit more, I had to sit in the gallery on Friday. Part of my job of being in the art gallery is as a uh, one of the members, is that I have to sit there for 3 hours every other week. And Blanche joins me, which is really an incredible gift and very special. And we did that. And then we went out to dinner with friends, and we're driving home after dinner. And I had no recollection how I had spent the day at all. I had no idea that had been in the gallery. And I had asked Blanche. Luckily, she remembered that. Her list of things that she'd forgotten was just as long as mine. It was just a different list. So the two of us kind of look at each other and we laugh about this a lot. But it is a very strange episode when you start to realize that it's being taken away. What you have done 20 minutes ago, an hour ago, is invisible. It is not part of the now, it's part of the was. The now is this, and this is what we've got, and this is all we have, and it's all we will ever have, and all we've ever had. We've built a story around it, we've built certainty around it, we've built projections around it, we've built fear around it, we've built hope, all of that stuff. But the real thing that starts to happen toward the end is it all falls away, and you just are this pure awareness of the now, whatever that is. And yes, there may be some fear. I'll tell you, it has to do more or less with physicality and biology. The fact that your body is deteriorating and things are not comfortable anymore, that's powerful. But it's not really because the society is disintegrating or I talk about AI a few weeks ago and all the fears around that kind of stuff. That kind of is no longer the thing that charges your being. What charges your being is, oh, this new day, this new day, this new minute, this new second, the newness of now. And the newness of now is profound because you never, ever know what will arise in the now, but something will arise. If nothing arises, I think I told you this, put in a swing in my backyard. So when there's nothing arising at all, I go sit on my swing and I just swing. And I feel like a 4-year-old. And I now do this thing, which is I go upside down. So I'm looking at the world from a way that I haven't seen it since I was 4 years old. And the trees are all over my head behind me. And it's like pure transformation into childhood, into an innocence that is shockingly beautiful. And that's what I do. I never imagined as an 80-year-old person that going to sit on a swing would be what would take over and be fulfilling in my life. But it is that. And I present that to you now, even though many of you are 20 years away from having to put a swing in your backyard or whatever it is you might want to do. But I will encourage you that as we move toward this and everything starts to fall away, as it will, and as your body gets more uncomfortable and you have to learn how to deal with that, and you will have this inner space that can participate in the journey of freeing you, or if you will, just let go and it will take care of itself. If you are caught in your mind your whole life, and if you are dominated by it and it doesn't fall away, that's problematic. And there were people at that party yesterday that I just wished I could have taught to meditate 30 years ago, because you cannot teach an 80-year-old person to meditate, I don't think. It's just the practice needs work, it's too late to teach them how to do weightlifting. It just, not going to provide much help. Not that you shouldn't try, but at the same time, you have the option. All of you have the option at this point to be partaking of the effort that's involved in moving yourself toward a wider, bigger release of mind, energy, certainty, everything else into a kind of beauty of not knowing, of just being, getting on the swing, looking at the trees, feeling 4 years old and going, wow, wow. I know we're looking for enlightenment. We're looking for awakening to the larger spiritual reality. I can only tell you, if you are hungry and searching for that, the you that's doing that is the problem. It's already there. It's already ready and willing to announce itself to you. The hunger to have that is the hunger for release, the hunger for no pain, the hunger for no fear and no worry. Just let it go. Awaken now. Just be awake. Just be present. Be here. The now does not necessarily include the newspaper. And if it does include the newspaper, then read it consciously and know, yes, I'm giving myself over to fear and worry for a few minutes. It's pretty stimulating, and I'm a human being, and people do that. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get yourself in trouble. Just live your life. Be a human being. Forgive yourself for your trespasses, if you will, and make yourself available to being redeemed by life, and knowing that you will be, already are, and have always been more loved than you can ever imagine. And I guess promise is kind of a big word, but I will promise you at one point that reality of love will be all that will be left. You will be loved. You already are. And it will go on for eternity. Big promise, I know, but beats the news. Okay. Enough said. Any questions? I don't have everybody on the screen, unfortunately, so you may have to call out. Okay. No questions. That's always a good sign, I think. I guess. I have this weakness of, when I did that whatever it's called, podcast type thing, suddenly I had a lot more people listening to my talks. And I was like, wow. I mean, there's like, hundreds of people. And then they stopped. Like last week, they just stopped. And I went, well, but what did I say? What did I do? What don't they like about what I'm saying? And I got kind of sad about it, because I kept thinking I had something that might be worthwhile saying. And it's weird to be judged that way, to be looked for and then dropped just like that. But it's healthy. It's healthy. And what I came away from it all with was like this old thing from when I was making movies. If one person gets affected by what's put into the film, or one person gets affected by the class, it's worth it. It's just worth it. It's not about numbers. It's really about depth. It's really about connection. It's really about making people, whoever is interested, a little bit more connected to their own truth. And I feel really, really good about that. So I'll keep talking whatever the numbers are until there are no numbers. And then Blanche and I are going to take our Sundays and do something really sweet. I don't know what. Let's go out for brunch. But anyway, we love you all very much. And I include Blanche in that. And thank you for being here. And, onward.